numeracy.
I am now making numeracy a central objective of our education system.
Literacy.
So let me spell it out.
And reality.
All we've heard so far is that it's just busy. It's not busy. I've been working accident emergency for 22 years and speaking to colleagues up and down the country. We've never seen anything like this.
These are the interesting times. Hello everyone, Happy New Year! My name's Matt Johnston and welcome to the Interesting Times, a show that likes to take a sideways swipe at politics right here in the UK. Parliament is away until tomorrow, leaving the politicians to do what they do best, talking. And following on from his breakfast-serving gaffe, current Prime Minister, a man who is so disliked he lost a popularity contest with Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak went to Tapa Army Base in Estonia on Christmas Eve to thank the British forces serving there. And this, of course, gave him a chance to put on display his working-class roots.
Hi, how are you? Now, did you get a chance to watch some of the footy yesterday?
Ah, yes, the footy. He also spoke about his plans for the future.
What do I need to know about catering? I have been trying for many years to get a Nando's there.
Good to know that these young men's sacrifices won't be in vain. But as bad as either of those vids were, they weren't as bad as the one he recorded to welcome in the new year. Cue background music, not Gary Glitter.
Hi.
He spoke about the things that have happened this year with a smile of someone filling in a scrapbook.
The sad moment when the Queen passed away.
Why is he smiling?
I think it's probably hard to forget the war in Ukraine.
But what about his plans for the new year?
The NHS is an enormous priority for me.
Yeah, about that.
I know people are anxious at the moment, and that is first and foremost about reducing inflation and energy bills. And then the last one is fairness.
Fairness? What, like getting a top political job in the country without being elected? Living in a tax-funded property whilst being married to a multi-millionaire non-dom and getting a fixed penalty notice for illegally attending a party while other people can go to the funerals of loved ones? That fairness? No wonder he said the word like he was expecting to get smitten by God for blasphemy.
It's fairness.
Still, the video, the angle and the endearing piano music gave the perspective of someone selling a fairy tale to a naive audience. Once upon a time, in a kingdom far and very, very close, lived a magical idea called Brexit, which meant everyone got exactly what they wanted. All they had to do was believe.
A poll commissioned by The Independent found 65% of Britons want a repeat of the 2016 vote on Brexit.
OK, believe harder.
Even in the Brexit heartlands, like here in the north of England, people are reversing their opinion. Polls show that a majority now believe that Brexit was a bad idea.
You're not even trying, are you? Now, that may be the worst video by a PM in 2022, but this one, that came out 4 days into the new year, wraps up the contest for 2023. The PM set out his vision for the future with all the enthusiasm and gravitas of a leader in a call centre that's just returned from a Work Smarter Not Harder seminar.
But of course, we need to do more. So I want to make 5 promises to you today.
Here we go.
So, 5 promises. We will halve inflation, grow the economy, reduce debt, cut waiting lists and stop the boats. And we will either have achieved them or not. We're either delivering for you or we're not. We will rebuild trust in politics through action or not at all.
It's looking like we are being asked to trust a man who tells us that the cheque's in the post knowing there's a Royal Mail strike on. Look, the Prime Minister's job is to engage with the British public, to give confidence. Pretty sure Churchill never said, we'll fight them on the beaches. Or not. And we will never surrender. Or we will. Thatcher never said the lady's not for turning. Or she is. Some of you, though, may see a problem with all this trust me with your future pledges, as highlighted by Beth Rigby of Sky News.
You're here giving people more promises about how you might change the country that they've heard many times before during 13 years of Conservative rule. My question really is, why should the public believe you're any different to any of your predecessors?
I think the country have seen me perform in the job before.
Yeah, not sure you want to bring that up. During your last year as Chancellor, you quadrupled inflation, shrunk the economy and increased the size of the country's debt. Still, better luck this time round. So, is there any good news for him? Well, as the opposition is led by this guy, yeah. Yes, it's a battle of the Blands, the insomniac stream ticket, Sunak versus Starmer, Magnolia versus Vanilla, Semolina versus Rice Pudding, Paint Dry versus Grass Grow. Starmer is even taking on a Tory twist. Remember this?
If we take back control on June the 23rd,
we will embrace the take back control message.
And him talking about getting the private sector involved with the NHS is the ultimate red flag from the red flag flying here party. And of course, this.
And it's no coincidence, no accident, that this leaves us with more regional inequality than anywhere else in Europe.
Yeah, because of Brexit.
It's why every crisis hits Britain harder than our competitors.
Brexit.
The only country in the G7 still poorer than it was before the pandemic.
Give me a B. Sidestepping the Brexit issue like Neo dodging bullets. So the question had to be...
How can you explain to voters what is the real difference between the two of you?
They even delivered their speeches within one day of each other, both from Queen Elizabeth Park. So, is there an alternative to the Tories in Labour light? Well, yes. OK, let me rephrase that. Is there an electoral alternative for the rest of the United Kingdom? Well, the third place perennial bronze medal winners are the Liberal Democrats, who have had a surprisingly good couple of years and have taken 3 seats in by-elections since 2019. There is a couple of problems with them, though. Their leader is Davey, a man who says things like this.
Happy New Year. The new year is an opportunity to turn the page and look ahead. And although things are tough for millions of people, I sense change is possible this year. So I look to the new year with optimism and with hope.
Yes, I'm feeling both negative and pessimistic that he understands that those two nouns actually mean the same thing. Also worth mentioning, the last time they were in power, this happened.
You were rather smart during the 2010 coalition government when you introduced austerity, which I think has been mischaracterised.
As a bad thing? They were right about Brexit, though, and aren't talking about trying to make it work like jump-starting a 23-year-old Ford Fiesta that's been sat in your garage gathering dust. The Rebuilding Trade and Cooperation with Europe section on their website proclaims themselves proudly pro-European and have a 4-point plan culminating in rejoining the single market. See? Nice when a party talks sense, isn't it? Oh, and they also want proportional representation. So remember, when Sunak squirms and Keir can't, Davey does. I should have been a slogan writer.
Or not.
The NHS is in crisis and has been on a slow decline for the last 10 to 13 years. Wonder why? But it's reached breaking point.
It's a group chat between 13,000 doctors who work on the front line and in primary care, and they're sharing their concerns about the NHS, what they see, their experiences. There are thousands of these posts. In our hospital, we have such a long wait to get into the acute medical unit, the admissions unit, that we have a junior doctor on the roster called the car triage.
The car triage?
Car triage. This means they spend their whole shift checking on people waiting outside in their cars.
I've been working accident emergency for 22 years and speaking to colleagues up and down the country, we've never seen anything like this.
For the first time in their careers, they're in tears at the end of their shift. And when they return to the next shift, the same patients are still waiting to be seen after 24 hours. Sunak and the government to pretend that this is not a crisis when more than a dozen trusts have announced critical incidents is not only delusional, as the BMA say. I would say that at the very best, it's ill-informed misjudgment. At the very worst, it's total irresponsibility and incompetence.
And Sunak's response to this crisis in the care sector is not to care, from being dismissive of nurses' requests for a decent pay rise.
When it comes to the current industrial action being taken by nurses, they've indicated that they might be willing to settle for 10%. Could you go a bit further with your pay offer? Could you meet them halfway?
We've always been clear that we want to have a grown-up, honest conversation, talking about what's affordable, what's reasonable, what's responsible.
So making it clear that he believes the NHS has enough money. And remember this.
At the moment, around 13,000 people in hospital beds who ideally should be back in their communities or in social care. And that's what's making our hospitals full, and that's what's slowing the flow of people from ambulances into A&E and through. So what are we doing to address that? Well, we've put £500 million into what's called early discharge.
Or not, as it appears only 40% of that money has been given to the NHS. Sunak has also made numeracy a cornerstone of this government's ambitions or something.
How we can best support doctors, nurses and other healthcare professionals.
Pretty sure your numeracy skills will come in handy here, Rishi. Sally works as a doctor in the NHS. If Sally is offered a 7.5% pay rise and inflation is 11%, how long until Sally is forced to sell a kidney to keep a roof over her head?
Can you rule out raising NHS staff salaries by just 2% next year, as you're reportedly planning? Thank you.
So Pippa, of course the NHS is special.
Oh, grow up. Now that's it. No time to talk about Prince Harry's book coming out soon, Spare, and it's filled with some pretty juicy revelations, including the fact that Catherine was asked to change the spelling of her name, as too many in the royal family have names beginning with a C. Tell me about it. No time to talk about a Brexit benefit. Yay! As a charity has won a contract to deliver food, water and look after the welfare of some 2,000 lorry drivers stuck in the queues for Dover. Where's the benefit? Well, it's a UK charity called React, who possess the compassion, grit, resilience and unshakable determination to save lives and alleviate suffering in the worst conditions. Such as the UK, after 13 years of the Conservatives being in charge. No time to talk about Jacob Rees-Mogg considering running for the Conservative leadership if Sunak loses the next election. The twat in the top hat is said to be tempted by the prospect of becoming the standard bearer for the right wing of the party. Well, he's halfway there. It already looks like a flagpole. No time to talk about a record number of objects being left in after surgery. These include a scalpel and wire cutters, although doctors have thankfully now removed this end of a bell from the NHS. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you are enjoying these vids, then please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit all the notifications bell, and I'll see you all next week. Take care.